Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've ever tried to judge whether an organization is truly succeeding, well, you quickly realize that just looking at the bottom line, it's often not enough.
No, not at all.
Trying to define performance only through profit.
Yeah.
It's like trying to describe a champion athlete just by measuring their weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
You miss all the skill, the strategy,
Yeah.
the long-term stuff.
Exactly. Today's organizational reality is just far too complex for one single metric.
Yeah.
So today, we are moving beyond those simple financial statements.
Right.
Our mission here is to quickly synthesize the diverse frameworks used for performance analysis. We're looking across private sector, nonprofits, public sector too, helping you understand what success really means in, well, pretty much any context.
And the sources we're using today, they give us a fantastic kind of structured map of this complex area. This deep dive is based on an overview outlining alternative views of performance analysis. It really provides the essential structure for understanding how managers define success, especially when making money isn't the only goal, or maybe not even the main goal at all.
And that structure is vital. We're organizing this deep dive into 4 distinct branches. They're interconnected, of course, but distinct.
Okay.
We start with a foundational management tool, then we move into the specific challenges you find in service and nonprofit organizations.
Right.
And finally, we kind of zoom out to look at those crucial external pressures that really shape performance today.
Okay, let's unpack this roadmap then. Starting with that baseline tool, the one that really pushed measurement beyond simple accounting. The Balanced Scorecard, or BSC.
The BSC, yeah. It's the foundational view here. Before the scorecard, performance, well, it was often just finance, wasn't it?
Pretty much.
The whole philosophy of the BSC is to link your day-to-day operations with the long-term strategy, making sure everything pushes toward the same strategic goals.
I get the philosophy, but for the listener needing that key takeaway, what are the actual dimensions the BSC says we have to measure? That's the core, right?
Precisely. The power of the BSC is that it insists we measure performance across 4 critical dimensions. It moves from sort of external results down to the internal drivers.
Okay.
So we start the financial perspective, that's shareholder value, cash flow, the usual suspects. But then it immediately broadens the view.
Broadening the view, meaning looking at the customer.
Exactly, the second dimension,
I see.
the customer perspective,
Yeah.
This looks at things like market share, retention, acquisition, satisfaction.
Great.
But those 2, they really only tell you where you are. To understand how to improve, the BSE forces you to look inward.
Into the actual operations of the company itself.
Right. The third dimension is the internal process perspective. This focuses on what the organization absolutely must excel at. Could be manufacturing efficiency, innovation pipeline, supply chain, depends on the business.
Yeah.
And finally, the 4th dimension, maybe the most forward-looking one, learning and growth. This measures the organization's capacity for future improvement. So employee skills, information systems, organizational culture, that kind of thing.
So the BSC is great because it balances outcomes, financial, customer, with the drivers of those outcomes.
Right.
Process learning gives you that strategic alignment. But what's the biggest trap? The thing that makes us need these other alternative views?
Well, the main disadvantage often mentioned is measurement difficulty. It can be complex to implement properly.
Right.
But I think the real philosophical trap is that it remains fundamentally internally focused. It's excellent at measuring internal strategic alignment, but it's often not great at handling, say, external societal pressures or dealing with products that aren't easily defined.
Ah, okay.
And that's exactly why we need to step into the service and nonprofit worlds next.
Absolutely. The second the product becomes intangible, like legal advice or a hospital stay, your typical efficiency dashboard kind of breaks down, doesn't it?
It really does.
So yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. Looking at sectors that need totally different yardsticks. Let's start with service industries.
Service industries, they present immediate measurement challenges, mostly because of 2 defining characteristics.
Okay, what are they?
First, intangibility. You just can't touch or inspect the service before it's delivered.
Right.
Second, simultaneous production and consumption. The service is delivered at the exact moment the customer experiences it.
That simultaneous part, that completely changes quality control, doesn't it?
Oh, completely.
You can't, send a bad haircut back to the factory for rework. The person delivering the service is the quality control, in a way.
Exactly right. So the focus immediately shifts from pure efficiency, which you might track in manufacturing, to the second focus area, quality. Service quality becomes the critical measure.
Because it's judged right there in the moment.
A firm could be financially okay, But if the service quality bombs, well, its performance is basically zero in the customer's eyes.
And this is where we need more than just general ideas. We need a specific framework, like the one mentioned in our sources, Parasuraman's building blocks model. What are the key bits of that model? How does it help measure something intangible?
Right, this model, often remembered by the acronym RADAR, it provides tangible dimensions for measuring the intangible. It helps you move past just asking, was the customer happy? It helps diagnose why they were happy or why not.
Rater. Okay, what does that stand for?
Well, probably the most critical factors are reliability. Can they perform the promised service dependably and accurately? And assurance. Do the employees have the knowledge and courtesy to inspire trust?
Okay, reliability and assurance. Give me an example.
Sure. Think of an airline. Reliability is the flight on time? Does your luggage arrive? Assurance is the competence and the professional calm of the pilot and the crew. Makes you feel safe.
Got it. And the other three letters in Rater.
Tangibles. That's the appearance of facilities, equipment, staff, empathy, the caring, individualized attention, and responsiveness. How willing are they to help? How prompt is the service?
Okay.
Understanding those 5 blocks lets managers pinpoint specific areas of service failure rather than just seeing some vague dip in satisfaction scores.
That's super useful detail, especially for anyone managing client-facing teams. Okay, let's shift gears again to the nonprofit sector. This might be the most challenging to quantify, right? Because the main goal changes completely. It's not shareholder wealth, it's mission delivery.
Exactly. And this creates, well, at least 3 major challenges for performance measurement in nonprofits.
Okay.
The first is just the nature of the objectives. They're often really complex social mission-driven goals like reducing homelessness or improving literacy. You can't easily put a price tag on solving a big societal
Oh,
problem.
no, definitely not. And the second challenge comes from the money.
Absolutely. The sources of money. It's often grants, donations, government funding. This means accountability isn't primarily to shareholders, but maybe to the donor or the government agency.
Right.
A donor wants to see impact, transparency, and that leads right to the core of performance assessment here, the mission. If you aren't clearly advancing your mission, you aren't performing well. Doesn't matter how efficient your internal paperwork looks.
So those traditional financial metrics, they become much less important. Something else has to rise up, something measuring actual societal change.
That's where NFPI's non-financial performance indicators become absolutely crucial. You have to stress these.
NFPIs, okay.
So for a nonprofit working on adult literacy, the key NFPI isn't cash flow. It's maybe the percentage of participants who improve their reading skills by a certain level. That's the real measure of success.
And that must force completely different ways of setting goals. How do they manage that?
It does. It forces specific ways of setting targets that actually align with that complex, often long-term mission. Targets might even change based on community needs or funding cycles.
Right.
And then assessing quality service is different too. In a mission-driven context, the person benefiting from the service might not be the one paying for it.
Ah, interesting point.
So you have to measure quality for the recipient, yes, but also demonstrate accountability back to the donor or funder. It's complex. It means managers constantly have to look for other approaches to make sure they're managing holistically, not just looking at one year's numbers.
Okay, so we've got the internal structure with the BSC, then sector specifics for services and nonprofits. But like you said, no organization is an island. Let's zoom out. What are those essential external considerations that modern performance analysis absolutely has to include?
Yeah, connecting this to the bigger picture, our sources are clear. Performance analysis must look outside the organization's own walls to figure out true long-term viability.
The outside world pushes back.
Definitely. The market, the environment, society, they all impose measurable constraints and expectations now. Our framework pulls out 5 explicit external factors that managers need to juggle.
Okay, let's list those 5. Starting with the broadest group.
We start with stakeholders. This view recognizes it's not just shareholders. It's employees, regulators, local communities, suppliers. All these groups have interests and demands. And their satisfaction, or lack of it, significantly impacts performance, perceived or real.
That's the big modern shift, isn't it? Moving beyond just pleasing shareholders to satisfying this wider range of interests.
Exactly.
Next up is ethics. This covers the moral considerations, the organization's conduct. It hugely influences public perception and ultimately long-term survival. Poor ethics can just wipe out years of good financial results.
We've seen that happen.
Oh, yeah. Then there's the environment. How does the organization impact the natural world? Resource use, pollution, carbon footprint. It's all becoming more critical and measurable.
Okay, ethics, environment. And the last two feel more traditional.
They do, but with a modern lens, you still have competitors. You always need to benchmark yourself against rivals. That's baseline performance assessment.
Sure.
And finally, tying these together in many ways is sustainability. Is the way the organization performs today sustainable in the long run for the business, for society, for the planet?
What's really striking here is that these five things, stakeholders, ethics, environment, competitors, sustainability, they aren't always pulling in the same direction, are they?
Not at all.
They often conflict, forcing managers into really tough trade-offs. Could you give an example of that conflict?
Absolutely. Imagine a company under intense competitor pressure to cut costs. Management might pick a super low-cost supplier overseas.
Okay, that satisfies maybe the shareholder stakeholder wanting lower costs.
Right. But that very choice might immediately clash with ethics if that supplier has poor labor standards, or clash with environmental standards if they pollute more.
Oh, okay. So chasing short-term competitive edge could really damage your long-term reputation or sustainability.
Precisely. That complexity shifts performance management. It's not about finding one perfect number anymore. It's a dynamic balancing act across those five, often opposing external forces.
So managers might actually have to decide not to maximize short-term profit sometimes.
Yes. It might require a strategic decision to accept, say, a slightly higher cost structure to ensure ethical sourcing, because the long-term performance benefit, maybe in reputation, employee morale, long-term sustainability outweighs that short-term financial hit.
That complexity really shows why the balanced scorecard, while useful, just isn't enough on its own anymore.
Exactly why.
Okay, so let's bring our structure back together. We've synthesized these alternative views. Performance management today, it's not just one spreadsheet. It's about balancing across four key branches. You've got the strategic alignment focus, the balanced scorecard, the subjective quality measures in service industries, the critical mission metrics in the nonprofit sector, and then this complex reality of managing all those external considerations.
And hopefully this structure gives you, the listener, a framework, a way to quickly diagnose any organization's true success by asking a much broader set of questions, going way beyond just the quarterly earnings report.
Yeah, definitely. Which raises, I think, an important final question for you. Given how diverse these four areas are and how measurement seemed to get harder as we moved outward, which of these four branches, BSC, service, nonprofit, or external considerations, do you think is the least measurable, at least with the business tools we have now?
That's a tough one. I would probably argue that many aspects of the external considerations branch remain the least easily quantifiable.
Really? Which aspects specifically?
Specifically things like the true long-term impact on the environment beyond just simple carbon metrics and the real performance effect of ethics. We can measure scandals after they happen, sure, we can measure carbon output now, but predicting the actual future performance impact of, say, gradual climate change on operations or subtle ethical compromises, that's incredibly hard to put on a current balance sheet.
So what does that difficulty imply then for the future of how we even define organizational success?
Well, I think it implies that future performance success is going to rely increasingly not just on quantitative data, the hard numbers, but also on qualitative judgments.
Qualitative,
Yeah.
like stories and reputations.
Exactly. And stakeholder consensus. Managers won't just report numbers in the future, they'll have to tell a credible story about their organization's impact and its long-term viability. The performance score, if you like, might be defined more by the quality of the organizational conversation about its purpose and impact rather than just the numbers in a ledger.
Wow, that's a fascinating thought. The future of performance is more of a debate, maybe, than a calculation. Well, hopefully you can use this comprehensive structure we've discussed as your mental framework the next time you're trying to assess what success truly looks like for any organization.
My pleasure. It's a crucial shift in thinking.
Indeed. Until next time, keep learning.